All right. Now, there are reports that if this deal is approved, it's just a phased deal, that there may be more and longer periods of accommodation if everything goes well. What would that mean? We have the perfect guest, former Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Michael Oren. It's great to have you, Ambassador. Thank you for joining us.
Good to be back with you, Chris, as always. Hi.
You got any 411 for me on whether or not they approved the deal yet? And do you believe that Israel will?
I don't think they've formally approved it yet. The cabinet meeting is over, a 6-hour cabinet meeting. My guess is yes, they will approve it, and the debate will ensue. On one hand, Chris, this is a great accomplishment. 50 young people, mostly some old people, some infirm people, reunited with their families. You can't begin to express the joy that those families feel, and the joy that we feel for them. But keep in mind, there's probably another 180 hostages still in the hands of Hamas. And those families are going to be feeling something very different. And there are, what can I say? There are dangers. 4 or 5 days of ceasefire. Hamas will use those days to rearm, to equip, to set more booby traps down. If and when the fighting resumes, our troops are going to have to meet those booby traps, and some of them will step on them, as they have. Most of our losses have been to these booby traps and mines and IEDs. So there's that danger. There's also the danger that Hamas is not really an honest broker, as you know. They violate every ceasefire, and they could release maybe less than 50. They could get to the 5th day of the ceasefire, only release 40, and say, "Listen, we need another 5 days. We can't find them all." Hamas is a terrorist group. They're going to be moving that football every opportunity they can.
So they don't have to return all 50 right away before the pause. Also, the principle involved. Look, as an uninitiated, as an outsider, I would go with the feeling of something's better than nothing. But what about the more sophisticated understanding of not getting all the hostages and the message this sends about the value of taking hostages and how you wind up getting what you want? How do you walk that line?
It's very difficult. Let's start from the beginning or the end. Doesn't matter. You're going to come back to the same word. The word is ceasefire. Hamas wants a ceasefire, a permanent ceasefire, not a 5-day ceasefire. Why? Ceasefire means Hamas gets away with mass murder. It means Hamas wins. Then it can begin to rebuild its military force and start all over again. Its own leaders said, we're going to do this a second time, a third time, a fourth time. So they're not hiding this. And ceasefire means Israel loses. We've got 250,000 people who are homeless, have been driven away from the borders. They had to evacuate. I don't know. Would you go back to those borders right now with your family, your kids, if Hamas is reorganizing on the other side and preparing the next attack? Very, very difficult. So it needs a ceasefire. So here's the danger for Israel. You get a 5-day ceasefire, and then Hamas says, well, we'll release a few more in return for another 5 days. And before you know it, you got yourself an open-ended ceasefire. And Hamas, here's the difficult thing, Chris. Hamas will never release all the hostages because it knows once it does, Israel will destroy all the tunnels. And the only thing keeping Israel from destroying the tunnels, from flooding them with seawater, is the fact that there are hostages down there. So it's these hostages are the get out of Gaza free card for these guys. And you're dealing with, I said, you're dealing with not just honest brokers, you're dealing with terrorists. And it's like negotiating with ISIS or negotiating with Al Qaeda. It is very difficult. This is I'm an historian by training. I don't know a case like this in all of history where a government had to make this kind of decision.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of NewsNation's fact-driven coverage.